Robert Mueller, you sniveling sack of dirt. I want to know where you get off wasting everyone's time, wasting everyone's money, and ruining a good man like Michael Flynn's life because you and your swampy punks are pissed off we've got an outsider in the Oval Office who is as sick as we are about the way things have been going in Washington, and so he wanted to change that. And apparently that makes Donald Trump a criminal. There's no collusion, there's not even a crime, and yet they go and they try to invent ones because how dare ye come in here and shake things up. So we'll find a crime. Did Donald Trump jaywalk in 2010? Well, we're gonna find out, and everyone who helped him do it is gonna pay. Sadly, I don't think this thing is going to end or go away until they've got everyone they want in chains over a victimless process crime because the filthy scoundrels of the special counsel, they're nothing but demonic scum who deserve to rot in hell for what they've put this president through and for what they've put the country through. So we've got little Adam Schiff, womp womp. He's out there saying Donald Trump is going to jail.
There's a very real prospect that on the day Donald Trump leaves office, the Justice Department may indict him, that he may be the first president in quite some time to face the real prospect of jail time.
Yeah, you wish, you numbskull. But I know this is news to the lefties and the media, but you actually have to have committed a crime to go to jail. Now, NPR, who only exists because you, the taxpayer, pays for them, and I'm told it stands for National Public Radio, pretty sure it just stands for nitwits producing rot, has a list of, quote, all the criminal charges to emerge so far from Robert Mueller's investigation. Yeah, there's so many of them. And guess what? None of them have to do with collusion. In fact, none of them have anything to do with even obstruction of justice, which is what they're trying to get Trump on because they know they don't even have anything on the collusion front. So they say, quote, convicted Paul Manafort. They write that. Well, if you read the Manafort DC superseding criminal information, it says, quote, between at least 2006, that's when I was in high school. And 2015, before the campaign even started, Manafort conspired with Richard W. Gates, Konstantin Kilimnik. Who's Konstantin Kilimnik? And others to act and acted as unregistered agents of a foreign government and political party. Well, good thing none of that happened while Donald Trump was running for president. But that doesn't matter because the Mueller model is just to find stuff. They just find stuff, whatever they can find. Have they ever committed a crime? No. Well, have they ever contradicted themselves on a minor detail? We don't know, but we're going to find out. Imagine having a counsel whose sole job it is just to find crap on you and your family and anyone you know. Did so-and-so who worked with this person pay his taxes 10 years ago? Well, we'll find out. And then they interrogate you about it. And when you get something wrong, oh, this happened Tuesday. Nope, it was Wednesday. You're going to jail. Ha ha. That's what this is. The article points to Michael Flynn, 3 stars, by the way. He's a retired Army lieutenant general who did nothing wrong. He reached out to the Russian government during the transition because that's what you do when you're about to be national security advisor. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching this on Facebook, do me a favor, hit the share button, please. Now, another one who we're talking about, Michael Cohen. This loser Michael Cohen, he evaded his taxes. Reminder, guys, pay your taxes. Michael Cohen also lied to a bank. Now, what do those have to do with Donald Trump? Absolutely nothing. But that does not matter, and it certainly has nothing to do with Russian collusion. But they say Cohen, he paid off Stormy Daniels and that other trollop to keep their mouths shut at the direction of Trump. Now, still not Russian collusion. So you're telling me that this entire year-and-a-half investigation was to find a campaign finance violation to porn stars at the direction of Trump. Let me ask this. Why didn't Obama have a special counsel look into him? After all, he also committed campaign finance violations as well. But that apparently doesn't matter because the Mueller witch hunt is not interested in finding the wrongdoings of Democrats, including the nefarious funding of the dirty dossier. You remember the whole thing that began this whole crooked crusade? Because the Democrats, they're good establishment folks whose crooked behavior is acceptable to the obsequious clowns of the DC swamp like dirtbag Robert Mueller. They claim the Russians approached Michael Cohen. Mr. Cohen said he was approached by a Russian claiming to be a trusted person in the Russian Federation. Now, Mr. Cohen said he never followed up on the Russians' invitation, in part because he was working with someone else who he believed had Kremlin connections. They say in part, quote unquote, in part. Well, what's the other part? They just don't want to tell you what the other part is because it's probably that he had no interest in colluding with Russia, so he turned down the request. And yet the New York Times calls this, quote, the most direct evidence to date linking Mr. Trump to potentially criminal conduct. Well, if this is the most direct evidence, then you people really don't have diddly squat. They have evidence Michael Cohen was approached by Russians. All right, if I'm approached by a drug dealer in the streets of DC, someone comes up to me, "Psst, you want some Molly?" And I tell him to go F off, apparently that makes me guilty for a crime because that guy approached me. That's their logic here. Now, who else we got? The next person we got here is W. Samuel Patton. What, you don't know who W. Samuel Patton is? Clearly someone hasn't been paying attention. Apparently, this guy pleaded guilty for failing to register as a foreign agent for lobbying work he performed for a political party in Ukraine called Opposition Bloc. Fascinating. Tell someone who cares. Was he part of the Trump campaign? Nope. Trump transition? Nope. Trump administration? Not even close. So why does he matter? The answer is he does not. All right, next up, who we got? We got Rick Gates. Gates has testified that he and his former partner used offshore bank accounts and wire transfers in order to hide money from the IRS. Yeah, sounds like Russian collusion to me. Oh wait, no it doesn't, because that was all separate from their work with the Trump campaign. But still, this guy faces 6 years in prison for that. But Mueller doesn't care because he's trying to ruin his life anyway, because destroying people's lives is fun if you're Robert Mueller. Now, another person who pleaded guilty is Alex Vanderswan, who apparently lied to investigators. He's another one who was a victim of a process crime. You know, they ask you, what time do you go for donuts? Oh, I think it was 9 in the morning. Nope, it was 9:03, 30 days in jail for you. Now, we've got another guy, Richard Pinedo, who apparently pleaded guilty to identity fraud, which, again, is not Russian collusion, nor obstruction of justice, nor anything they're supposed to be looking after. He apparently sold fake accounts to unidentified foreign users. Now, NPR, the liberal NPR, they admit it's unclear to what extent, if any, those users included suspects connected to the Russia investigation. Trust me, if they were connected to Russia, that would have been made perfectly clear. But get them anyway. More headlines proclaiming Mueller nabs another. Doesn't matter who it's for, because no one reads past the headlines anyway, and we all know that. One step closer to bringing Trump down, isn't that right? George Papadopoulos, another guy, was sent to jail because of a slip-up during a marathon investigation. Now, this guy shouldn't have spent 2 days in jail, let alone almost 2 weeks. Thankfully, he was just released. But Mueller has tried to indict this other dude, Konstantin Kilimnik. Sounds like a Marvel villain. I never even heard of this guy, because he allegedly tried to persuade witnesses to lie to the jury when the government was trying Manafort. Because they were like, well, why would he do that if Manafort wasn't trying to collude with Russia on behalf of Trump? Now, Manafort's charges come from his failures to pay taxes on money he learned as a lobbyist for a pro-Russia group in the Ukraine way before ever working with Trump. And Konstantin, this guy, he lives in Russia, so good luck getting him to come here. And then a bunch of Russian internet trolls, they were also tried, who we know this already. We know Russia tried to screw with our elections. That's nothing, that's news. So in other words, dirtbag Robert Mueller has nothing, absolutely nada, when it comes to Russian collusion, because there wasn't any. None. And yet CNN and all the other mainstream news outlets, they eagerly await the day when Donald Trump is going to jail. Guess what, folks? It's not going to happen. The real objective of Robert Mueller's witch hunt is to distract and to disrupt Trump. It has nothing to do with uncovering collusion. It has nothing to do with justice. He wants to make sure Trump's first term is as unproductive as possible. He wants to get Trump and everyone surrounding him. And if it means tearing down all those people due to process crimes to keep the investigation in the headlines, so be it. He has to find collusion because his minions on the left, they are counting on him. And if he doesn't, he'd be letting those poor folks down. And so he's coming up with all of this nonsense. And if it means destroying the agenda that millions and millions of Americans elected Trump to accomplish, then that's a price that swamp rat Robert Mueller is willing to pay.